Hello, everyone. 4 o'clock on Tuesday, March 24th. We'll wait here for folks to join us. I'm trying out a couple new things here. Not really new yet, but I'm checking. For instance, I'm checking to see how this actually looks on our Facebook page. So I've got my iPad here as well. So forgive me a second while I'm looking at that. And it's working. Of course, I knew that because people are watching and commenting. So, but it's just interesting to see how things look. So that works very nicely. All right, people are joining us, which is really wonderful. Yeah, Bernadette, got a new spot. Thought I would try something a little bit different. See how it goes. Got to make sure things look nice too. So that always helps. A little variety to these things. So glad you like it. There we go. Everyone's joining in, which is really nice. I think this 4 o'clock time is working fairly well for people, which is all the press conferences of the day, I think, hopefully are over. I didn't get to watch any of them today, so I'm a little behind on that, but I don't know that anything has changed significantly. I'll find out later if it has. So what I thought we would do today is just same as I've been doing. I'll have to give some thought as the week goes on to maybe some way to bring some variety to what I do here on Facebook Live. We just to give you kind of an update of what's been going on. We had a meeting today of the priests in the Archdiocese. We were invited to a meeting online, of course, not to give us new information or changes in policy or anything like that, but just to let priests get together, just to share some ideas about how we have been managing the situation in our parishes, ways that we've been reaching out to people. And we actually had 66 people on the Michelle says I can sing and dance. I don't think that'll work. But we had more than 60 priests on this conference call, which I thought was really wonderful and amazing. Getting 60 priests to use technology this way was really quite amazing. And I kind of wonder if it might not be something that continues on even after the crisis has passed. It's so hard to get priests to get together schedule-wise and distance-wise. It's a 2-hour plus drive from north to south in the Archdiocese. So if we get together in a central location, many people are driving over an hour, and that's hard to find that much time in your day. But there were a lot of good ideas. Some different parishes that were represented, different types of parishes that were represented. And so they gave me anyway, some good ideas that I'll probably be sharing with the staff over the next day or two. One of the things that someone mentioned in a written comment on the chat feature, if any of you have been in conference calls on Zoom or Ring Central is another one, different ones, there are a number of them out there. You can read, similar to what we have here on Facebook, is little text messages basically on the side. And one of them mentioned an app that is called Switcher, I think it's called. But basically it kind of lets you do, it would look like a produced television show on this video. You could have graphics on the bottom, things like that. I could bring in guests, things of that nature. It's going to take me some time to figure this out and learn how to do it. But Always good to learn some new skills. So anyway, that meeting was really good today. Priests all over the diocese are really working hard, trying to, stay in touch with their parishes, trying to stay in touch with their people, and figuring out the best way to manage the situation that we have. How do we handle sacraments? How do we handle sick calls? How do we get the word out? Not everyone is connected on social media. Not everyone's on Facebook. So one of the things that came up, and something I'd like to ask all of you, is if you could help me get the word out. People who you are in touch with, perhaps on the telephone or through text messaging or something like that, or even on a landline telephone or something like that. If you would let them know, number one, call in, just check in on them if you haven't already done that. Make sure they're doing okay. And then you might mention to them that I do this little live chat every day. And it can be something for them to keep connected to the parish. We can kind of grow the audience here a little bit. We get about 25 to 30 people. That's been pretty consistent who watch live. And then it says to me, Facebook does, that we've reached over 500 some odd people. And that's probably 500 different accounts. That might be more people because, husband and wife, say, might watch the video together. So it's one account that it says it's received, but that's two people. So we're reaching at least 500 people on most of these. But of course, if we can grow that, I think that'll be really good. So that's one thing that we've been doing. Some other ideas that came up there that I'm going to want to follow up on. It was kind of nice just to be with other priests and kind of know we're all in this together. It's always very reassuring when you hear people are doing similar things to what you're doing, so you kind of know you haven't gone off the rails or anything, or there's no obvious thing that I've forgotten or anything like that. So that was very helpful. And then that was about an hour-long meeting, and then I spent about 45 minutes on the phone immediately afterwards with another priest friend who was on that, and we were discussing some issues that had come up that were pertinent to the two of us. And we've got similar parishes. He's got a parish in Dayton that I've been connected to in the past. It's very, very similar. I've said to people, it's the St. Michael of Dayton. And I think they could look at us and say we're the Ascension Church of Cincinnati, of Sharonville. So we kind of share ideas from time to time. So that was really good. I also had another meeting, doing more and more of these conference calls, which is not my favorite thing in the world, but right now it's a real godsend because it's a way that people can meet together. But our finance council met last night, the finance council for the parish, trying to look at where we are. And we meet, that's a council, I don't know if many know this, I assume you do, but in case you don't, we meet 8 to 10 times a year. It's not quite every month, but 8 to 10 times a year just to, oversee the finances. So Scott Hungler and I are always there. We have our finance council chair and several other members who have expertise in finance. And they help us, to oversee the budget, oversee, fundraising. So for instance, when you see people asking for help, whether it's, our 8th grade trip to Washington or St. Vincent de Paul or any of the different things that go on, one of the things the Finance Council does is we try to coordinate all those different requests. Number one, we try to figure out which requests we should honor and help. Because if we honored all of them, we would be doing nothing but asking the parishioners for money, and then make sure that we don't do it all at once. You don't want to have one Sunday where we've got 3 different groups all asking for help, and that just doesn't help anybody. So that's one of the things they do. So last night we did a little bit of regular business, but of course we're looking at the budget. And you are a generous parish. And as I think many of you know from the report that they give us every year, we usually have something of a surplus every year. And we did this year, and we still do. We're a little concerned about that right now because the vast majority of our income, of course, other than tuition into the school, is through the collection that we have every weekend at Mass. And of course, we're not having those collections right now. So that's a concern of ours, and we're trying to figure out how to manage that. I don't like asking for money during a crisis. So many of you, about 30 to 35% of the parish actually does their donations online. And I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but on our parish webpage, okay, you can see there's the home screen. If you go scroll down just a little bit, you'll see two things. One, yes, you'll see right here, this is about online giving. And, whoops, it moved on me. And gives you directions on how to set that up, obviously, with a credit card or something like that. And then also, this coming weekend is the 5th weekend of the month, which is normally when our St. Vincent de Paul has their collection 3-4 times a year, depending on how many Fifth Sundays we have. That's coming up, so that would be just to remind you. I think many of us are just trying to get used to this temporary new normal, and it's like, what day is this? I don't even know what day it is, and I'm sure for many people it's, oh wait, we haven't given anything to St. Michael yet. So this is just a reminder of that. Obviously, if your financial situation has changed now because of the coronavirus and the stay-at-home order we have, by all means, take care. Don't do anything that you don't need to be doing. But if you are able, just something to think about. I hate asking for this, by the way. I feel really terrible, just so you know. You can also mail a check to the parish office. That's being checked every day or every other day, so it's safe to do that. So that's also an option that I know a few people are doing. Yeah, and what someone said, online giving for years, it is very convenient. It also allows you set something up and it just happens weekly. And that way too, if you go on vacation and you're gone for a week or two and you don't think about it, that donation still helps us. And it's very nice for parishes, to be honest with you, because we know that's there every week. It's very consistent. Whereas like in the winter time, if it's a bad snowy weekend, all of a sudden there goes your income for the week. Now, luckily, we're in a situation where, like I said, we have a surplus. That doesn't hurt us too much, but it's there. But the online is very consistent and safe, secure, easy for everybody. So enough said about that. But don't forget about Saint Vincent de Paul. I'm sure their need is going to be very great in the days and weeks and months ahead. And I know that you'll be really wonderful about that. Let's see. Parish Council. I talked to Jim Convis, who's our Parish Council President. So I'm starting to coordinate with him and Parish Council. I want to get their input on these things. Let's see. My dad is asking if there's a parish PayPal. There isn't PayPal. We just have the online. It's called WeShare is the company that does it. And I'm pretty sure, but I'm not, don't take this as definitive, but I'm pretty sure that the fees that are taken out, if there are any, I don't know that there are with WeShare, but they're probably less than PayPal. PayPal's kind of expensive. I found that out doing that up at campus ministry at Wright State because we wanted to set up something for online, much smaller community up there, and so things like WeShare weren't necessarily available to us. So that's your answer there, Dad. St. Vincent de Paul meeting of priests. the Holy Father, Pope Francis, tomorrow being the Feast of the Annunciation, he's asked everyone at noontime, wherever you are. So it's not like we have to think about when is noon in Rome and what time is that here, which would be like 7 a.m., I think. But he's just saying at noon tomorrow, wherever you are. So if you're watching us from somewhere other than Cincinnati, noon wherever you are, whatever time zone, asking everyone to simply say an Our Father. As kind of uniting the world in prayer for this time of sickness and crisis, I think is a wonderful thing. Traditionally at noon, every day, it used to be prayed the Angelus prayer. And it was 6 a.m., noon, 6 p.m. And the Angelus, the angel of the Lord declared unto Mary, and she conceived of the Holy Spirit. It's a prayer of the Incarnation. And recognizing Jesus' presence, God's presence in humanity and in the world in a very real way. And so that might be something you might want to pray tomorrow as well. And if you're like me and don't remember that prayer by heart, it's online in numerous places. So you can look that up. That might be a prayer for you tomorrow and really every day. The Pope, you also can go on VaticanNews.va, and this is where having that Switcher account where I can put little things like web addresses would be very helpful. So VaticanNews.va has little synopses of the Pope's homilies every day. That'd be another little place for you to find information on the Holy Father and what he said in relation to the readings for each day. And I really want to encourage you to go and read the one for today, the gospel about the man who was healed at the pool of Bethesda. He has a really, really interesting take on that gospel. And I would, encourage you to go read that. It was very helpful. The last thing news-wise that I want to say today is also the feast day for Saint Oscar Romero. Oscar Romero was the Archbishop of San Salvador in the country of El Salvador. In the late 1970s, this was a time of great unrest and really warfare that was happening throughout Central America. It was a very, very difficult time. A lot of atrocities happened down there. Well, anyway, he was the Archbishop of the capital city. He had been named by the leaders, or he was accepted by the leaders of the country because they thought he wouldn't cause any problems for them. He was conservative. He was pious. He was just going to pray, pay, and obey, basically. And after seeing the suffering of the people, he really began to speak up for them, and they viewed that as an act of subversion. And he was killed, today, March 24th, 1980, while saying Mass at a hospital chapel. And so he was recently canonized. So if you're following, they give us this day. It has a nice little synopsis of his life. And he was... I've admired him for years for his, really bravery in the face of governmental threat. They had a very dictatorial government at the time. Vast majority of the country was very, very poor, well below any type of poverty level. And there were very few very rich and very powerful people in government who didn't seem all that eager to help. So really interesting life to go read about and to learn from. Let's get into prayer. What I wanted to do is not the gospel today. I thought we might change things up just a little bit and turn to the psalm for the day. And the psalm for today is Psalm 46. And I thought it was, as I was praying Mass this morning, I just thought it was a really appropriate psalm for where we are these days. And so let me read the psalm to you. I'm using, this is the Revised Grail Psalms, and this is As they retranslated the Mass a number of years ago, other things are being retranslated and revised. The lectionary is always undergoing revision because new translations are being made, new scriptural scholarship is going on, and we understand translations and the original languages better. So in the several years, this will be the version of the Psalms, if I understand correctly, that we're going to be using. It's going to be several years before that happens, but that's the version I'm using today. So I just invite you I know you won't be able to follow along necessarily unless you actually have this book and have it immediately at hand. But if you'll just kind of clear your head a little bit, open your heart a bit, and just to receive this word. So here's Psalm 46. God is for us a refuge and strength, an ever-present help in time of distress. So we shall not fear, though the earth should rock, though the mountains quake to the heart of the sea, even though its waters rage and foam, even though the mountains be shaken by its tumult. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our stronghold. The waters of a river give joy to God's city, the holy place, the dwelling of the Most High. God is within, it cannot be shaken. God will help it at the dawning of the day. Nations are in tumult, kingdoms are shaken. He lifts his voice, the earth melts away. The Lord of hosts is with us, the God of Jacob is our stronghold. Come and behold the works of the Lord, the awesome deeds he has done on the earth. He puts an end to wars over all the earth. The bow he breaks, the spear he snaps, the shields he burns with fire. Be still and know that I am God, exalted over nations, exalted over earth. The Lord of hosts is with us, the God of Jacob is our stronghold. I thought that was, at least for me anyway, a wonderful thing to read and to pray today with where we find ourselves. So much of our lives have been disrupted, our regular routines upended, things that what was once down is now up, in is now out. Everything's changing, and it's very easy as we lose the anchor of our normal routines that give, meaning and really structure to our day. It's unsettling, and that happens in our spiritual lives as well. So I think it's really important for us and wonderful of God to give it to us. God is for us a refuge and a strength. We can turn to our faith. We can turn to our faith community, distant though we may be, and know that while we are physically sheltered and sometimes alone with our families, we are not truly alone. God is always with us. The love and the prayers of our community are with us. And that's how God shows his presence. Many people in any type of crisis can often feel like God has abandoned them. And that's understandable, certainly. But it's important for us to reflect and say, no, God hasn't abandoned. Look at all the ways that God has provided for us. We shall not fear though the earth should rock, though the mountains quake to the heart of the sea. It's poetry, and so that's not literally happening, but it feels that way, doesn't it? The Lord of hosts is with us, the God of Jacob. The God of Jacob is our stronghold, which is an interesting line in that, who is Jacob? Jacob goes back all the way practically to Abraham. He was a descendant of Abraham just by a few generations. If you know the musical Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, if I'm remembering correctly, Jacob is that Joseph's father. I might be off by a generation or two, so don't quote me on that. But anyway, it goes back to that. Jacob is seen as one of the fathers of the people of Israel. And to say this is the God of Jacob is to say this is the God of our fathers. This is the God of all the generations, going back millennia now, who has always been with us. Jacob was also called Israel, which means one who wrestles with God. And there's a scene in Genesis, I'd have to look that up, where he is literally wrestling with God. He doesn't understand it. But that's both, it's a metaphor. Sometimes we do wrestle with God. And, what does it mean to be a believer? What does God want of us? But the God of Jacob is our stronghold. The waters of a river flow nicely. Flow nicely. From the first reading today from the prophet Ezekiel, the water flowing from the temple, we see in that, an image of the waters of baptism that we receive. God is within. It cannot be shaken. God will help it at the dawning of the day. God is within. God is within us. God is within the church. God is within this community. God is within this communion of saints. God is here. God is with us. And one of my favorite lines in this whole psalm is in the 11th verse. Be still, and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. It goes to me very close to the line I shared with you a couple weeks ago at Mass. All is well and all will be well, and every manner of things shall be well. But, amidst all the tumult, amidst all the change, amongst all the difficulty, just to be still, and know that we don't have to be in control. God is. Might be an image for us, a thought, a prayer for us in these days. Which is, by the way, these Psalms, which I find enormously comforting. These are what make up, when I talk about the Liturgy of the Hours, this is what makes up the bulk of the Liturgy of the Hours, are these Psalms. And each day you have a set number of psalms that are recited at the various prayers. And I always find it amazing how the psalm that is appointed for any particular day or particular prayer is something I need to hear at that moment. And it might be different from when I heard the last time I prayed it. And maybe the last time I prayed it, I didn't really hear anything. But this time, a month later, I hear something different that I need to hear. It's one of the ways in which God speaks to us and lets us know that there we are, and then He's with us. We're not alone. We are not alone in all of this. Psalm 46. It's been one of my favorites. I posted, I guess it was on my personal Facebook page. The Notre Dame University of Notre Dame, up in South Bend, has a wonderful folk choir. And they do some wonderful renditions of different hymns and psalms. They have a wonderful rendition, just like they have one of the, All Will Be Well of St. Julian. They have a wonderful rendition on the same album of that Be Still and Know That I Am God. So encourage you. I know it's on Apple Music and the Apple Library, so you can find it there, probably on Spotify and different, maybe even Pandora, different music services. Just look that up, and you should be able to find that. So any questions or concerns? We're moving in half an hour goes so quickly doing this. I don't know if it does for you. It does for me. Maybe it seems like an hour to you listening to me drone on. I would imagine anyway. If not, you're being very kind. And Jody Mott, yes, you can also find St. Michael's Choir on YouTube. Tyler Marsh is on YouTube, our youth minister. I'm working on getting a link for him to his page because I couldn't find it today. And so I texted him asking him for that link, and he's working on that. He's had trouble with the internets today, so I know how that goes. Any other questions or concerns? We shall see. Not much has changed schedule-wise from yesterday, if anything. We're still in a wait-and-see attitude for things happening after Easter. We're going to have to just figure that out. We shall see. We shall see. I think, hopefully after next week, we're going to start to get a better idea of how things are going. I saw a little bit of a YouTube video today, actually just before I started getting ready for this, about a half hour ago. Guy whose YouTube channel I follow, he usually reviews cars, and he also flies a helicopter, and so he did just a real rough video of him flying over Los Angeles. And if any of you know Los Angeles, it's more cars there than you could ever think you could fit in any type of city. And he's looking over the freeway at rush hour several days ago, and it looked like I-75, at 1 in the afternoon, not that busy. So people are listening. So, hopefully people are really staying at home in so many of our states, taking it seriously. And hopefully that will slow down this disease like we need it to do, flatten that curve as they're always talking about, and that we can emerge from this in a better place than we might otherwise if we just ignored all this and went about our regular lives. So hopefully that will be the case. We'll ask God for his help and his presence with us and all of that. And, let's just pray for all especially doctors and nurses and first responders, all those folks. Make sure we keep them in our prayers as well. There was a Springdale police officer who was killed, I think, Saturday night, just down on I-275 by Route 4, so not far from us at all. And so keep her and her family in your prayers, and all of those who are out there working to protect us. I've got to imagine police officers and firefighters are having a really interesting time these days, trying to do their jobs in the midst of everything that's going on, as are so many people, but they who try to serve all of us. All right, no one's coming up with any questions or anything, which is fine. Tomorrow is Wednesday. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure tomorrow is Wednesday. And so tomorrow, instead of the 4 o'clock hour, we'll do 7 p.m. And we'll do that again. We used to and will someday again have Mass Wednesday evenings at 7 at church. But for the time being, while we're doing this, we'll have our Wednesday evening at 7. You can join us after dinner or during dinner. If you like, pull up your tray tables in front of your telephone or your tablet or your computer and join us there for dinner, and do that. So what I think the plan is shaping out to be will be 4 p.m. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, 7 p.m. on Wednesday. And then Saturday and Sunday, let me work on that. Saturday we took off last week. I think that'll be our day off. And I can't remember what time we did Sunday this past week. I think 1 in the afternoon was what we did. We'll see. We've got a few days before that. But during the week, weekdays, 4 p.m. Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, 7 p.m. on Wednesday. I'll put a post up saying that. I think that should help. All right, everyone, take care of yourselves. I'm certainly thinking of all of you and praying for you. I hope everything is well. Please don't be afraid to reach out to me or to anyone in the parish if there's anything that we can do from afar to help you out. Glad to do what we can. We're doing okay, I hope. I'm doing okay. Things here are just fine. I'm doing okay on food and everything like that. I am starting to consider, though, my coffee supply. I am thinking of starting. That will be what gets me to Kroger's next, is my coffee supply. So I'll take care of that. I think we'll be okay. Can these videos be put on the website? Oh, let me work on that, Michelle. I'm going to write that down. I don't know. Let me work on that. That would be a really good thing. That would be a really good thing. All right. Take care of yourselves, everyone. God bless you, and we'll talk again soon. Bye-bye now.